Sam Borsey with WorthPoint.com. We're here at the Baltimore Coin and Currency Convention. I'm standing with Glenn Berger. Glenn Berger does some contributing work for WorthPoint. He's our worthologist in error coins and currency. Always has some interesting errors in his booth. Picked out a few that we're going to profile here for you today. First coin we're going to talk about is this 1937 Buffalo nickel.
The coin just didn't get fully struck. This is an exceptional coin because it's high quality. It's a gem. Even though it's a common date, 1937, it's not a common date for an off-center.
Next is a 1978 Jefferson Nickel, but it's a peculiar nickel.
This nickel is what we call an off metal. This is a nickel that's struck on a cent planchet. Okay, so that's why it's got the copper color, and it weighs proper for a 1 cent in that era, which is 3.1 grams. Very collectible, off centers like that, type coin, and off metals, highly desirable by collectors.
What are the contributing factors to make them?
There's not a lot of them. Grade means everything, and these have a strong collector base, off metals, and off center type coins. A Buffalo nickel is a type coin.
Like this is a nickel on a penny planchet. How does this happen at the mint?
Excellent question. These are examples of webbing. Strips that have been punched out. Our coins blanks were punched out of here, and then they go to what's called an upset mill, which squeezes it a little bit, reduces it, and adds the raised edge, which makes the coin wear better. A bunch of cents were left in, it's called a tote bin, a couple 100,000. They didn't all eject when they were dumped into the next process. Instead of being struck as a penny, they were struck as a nickel. So then anything smaller than what they were striking that day is allowed to be struck, and it's called an off metal, and that's how it happened.
We have a 1999 Denver Mint dime, and this particular dime was struck 5 times by the coining press.
Well, each one of these around the periphery is a strike, and one of them on the side was struck twice. That's how they came up with the number 5. And this was probably done in a dual or quad press, and it bounced around and it got struck multiple times.
So you don't find a lot of these in bags, I'm sure.
That's the best example I've had in a long time. High demand for that coin because of the way it looks.
This is graded by NGC, one of the professional grading companies in the industry. On an error coin, how can they come up with a grade of MS66 on a coin like this where they, per se, don't have another one to compare it to?
Well, the errors go to their grading staff, and they have a determination based on the number of contact marks, surfaces, how bright it is, all that adds to the grade. So they graded this like it was a normal dime. They graded it as though it was not an error. And it's almost perfect. I mean, 70 is perfect, but believe me, this coin doesn't have any marks, abrasions, no breaks in the luster, all that. The strike is incredible. All that adds to the grading number.
And the other coin we're going to profile here is one of my favorites, highly collected state quarter errors. This is this particular one is a 2000 Virginia. It's triple struck with a reverse strike through, graded mint era MS65 by NGC.
This was on center, what we call, up and down, didn't bounce all around like this one. And if you count it, you can see that it's 3 strikes. You got to look much closer on this one than you do on this one. But also it has this big indentation here, which was probably a heavy gauge wire or a piece of the striking equipment itself fell onto this planchet when it was struck. And in order to go that deep and to be that heavy, I mean, that's another rare occurrence. So this is a multi-error.
When the mint notices them, they do what they call a waffle.
That's correct.
On them. And the waffles, do they let those waffles out into the general public for collectible value, or is that just how they mark them to dispose of them?
Well, I don't handle them, but people sell them and they have slabbed them. It was an error at one time in its life, but once they put a waffle on it, to me that's not anything to collect.
Well, Glenn, thanks for sharing your errors with us. As always, it's a pleasure. And my only advice to everybody watching this is keep an eye on that change and those bills in your pocket, because you'll never know what you'll find.
Absolutely.